It's Thursday, but it's already been a big week in the Russia probe. Just yesterday, Paul Manafort received his sentence for pleading guilty in a second federal case. He will spend the next 7+ years in federal prison. And today we learned that Robert Mueller's top prosecutor is leaving the team. Andrew Weissman has been called everything from a pit bull to the LeBron James of money laundering cases. Those two developments fueling speculation that the investigation could be close to wrapping up. Also today, a trial date set for Roger Stone, the longtime GOP operative and Trump advisor. His trial will begin on November 5th. Stone charged with lying to Congress and obstruction of justice. He has pleaded not guilty and remains free on bail. Joining us now, former federal prosecutor Steve Levine. Steve, news from across the Trump cast of characters today. Let's begin with Roger Stone in court. The big news for him that he wasn't sent to jail for violating his gag order. His big argument at this point seems to be that the government is just out to get him, which got me wondering if jailing him in his mind would bolster that argument. Do you think he wants to go to jail as a martyr? Have you ever seen that before?
No, I don't think I've had one client who wants to go to jail. And I cannot imagine Roger Stone is any different than anyone else. He certainly doesn't want to go to jail. He's fortunate that he didn't go to jail. I think if he has one more misstep, the judge is going to lose her patience, and he may very well end up there pending trial.
Did it surprise you at all that she didn't sentence him to jail today?
No, I think Judge Jackson is very fair-minded, and she also appreciates the fact that she not only has to be fair, she has to be perceived as fair. And I think she has bent over backwards to be perceived that way. And again, one more misstep, and I don't think anyone would expect Roger Stone to avoid jail pending a trial, if in fact he goes to trial.
Some interesting developments from former acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker yesterday, who was back on the Hill. Listen to this from House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler.
Unlike in the hearing room, Mr. Whitaker did not deny that the president called him to discuss the Michael Cohen case and personnel decisions in the Southern District. 2, while he was acting Attorney General, Mr. Whitaker was directly involved in conversations about whether to fire one or more U.S. attorneys. And 3, while he was acting Attorney General, Mr. Whitaker was involved in conversations about the scope of the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney Berman's recusal and whether the Southern District went too far in pursuing the campaign finance case in which the president was listed as individual number 1.
No, I should point out the ranking Republican on the committee noted or said that Whitaker didn't confirm any of those points that Nadler just said that he didn't deny. But if Trump did speak with Whitaker about both topics, does that seem to you as an attempt to pressure particular actions, otherwise known as obstruction?
Sure. If it depends what the term involved in discussions means, and it all depends on whether President Trump initiated these conversations, if he directed acting Attorney General Whitaker to take action, and the AAG opted not to take any action. A lot of the devil here is in the details. We don't know precisely what President Trump did, but certainly it could arise to an obstruction of justice claim, albeit difficult perhaps to prove depending on how many witnesses there are.
What do you make of this whole did not deny versus did not confirm split? And if Whitaker contradicted his testimony from last month, should he be charged with lying to Congress?
Well, there is a huge difference between did not deny and confirming something. On what basis did acting Attorney General Whitaker not deny? Did he claim executive privilege and just refuse to comment? Did he comment by saying, I'm not going to deny it? Again, we don't know the details of these denials, if in fact they were denials. Certainly, if acting Attorney General Whitaker contradicted testimony, then he may be looking at a potential charge of making a false statement, but we're a long way away from that. And also, people make contradictory statements. It doesn't mean that they're lying. Really, prosecutors would have to establish intent. And that's not always easy to do.
Some excellent points you make there, and thank you for that. Well, let's shift over to Michael Cohen, who has produced some emails showing communication between himself and a lawyer who was working for Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani, of course, working for Trump, as Cohen was apparently seeking a pardon. And in the emails, the response back to Cohen included very, very positive in terms of the reception that it got from Giuliani. Never a doubt, and they are in our corner. And sleep well tonight. You have friends in high places. Now, I'm no lawyer, but it sounded to me like we got your back. In other words, a pardon is possible. What do you take out of that?
Again, there is so much we don't know. And was Michael Cohen, in fact, seeking a pardon, or was a pardon dangled before him by members of the Trump's legal team in an effort to discourage Michael Cohen from testifying? We don't know who initiated that conversation. We know that Michael Cohen testified under oath before Congress that he never sought a pardon. Whether that's true or not, perhaps remains to be seen. But certainly that is a big issue in all of these cases, what with Manafort, previously with Michael Flynn, now with Roger Stone. Are these individuals hoping that President Trump will present to them a pardon so that they can avoid jail time, if that's the case?
Would dangling a pardon in exchange for keeping quiet be obstruction? Would it be a violation? Everybody knows that the president has the right to issue a pardon. And then, just to follow up on your previous point, if Cohen pursued a possible pardon and the Trump people sort of kept the possibility alive, is that really that different from them dangling it in the first place?
Well, you raise a very good question, or a series of questions. If we go back to President Trump's firing of Jim Comey, that in and of itself was a legal act. President Trump is permitted to fire the FBI director. But did he do it? Did President Trump fire Jim Comey with the intent to obstruct justice, obstruct an investigation into President Trump? So the same thing can be said here. President Trump is authorized to grant pardons, but is he doing so in an effort to obstruct a series of investigations? And that may very well amount to obstruction of justice.
Does there have to be very specific language about a quid pro quo here? Does it have to be, I will pardon you in exchange for silence and loyalty? Or can you sort of, with a dotted line and connect the dots in your mind?
Sure. Prosecutors would love that sort of evidence where there's an email from one individual to another saying, I will do this in exchange for your doing this. That rarely happens. And so FBI agents, prosecutors are in the business of connecting dots. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And again, whether they can do that in these series of cases remains to be seen.
A bit of news off the Mueller team today. We heard that Andrew Weissman, who is their money laundering prosecutorial expert, is leaving the Mueller team, ramping up additional speculation that this might be the end of the road on the Russia aspect of the Mueller investigation. Is that what you read from those tea leaves as well?
I think depending on your preference, you can read it one way or the other. Certainly, Donald Trump was recently interviewed. That suggested the winding down of the investigation. A senior FBI official recently left the special counsel's team. Now Andrew Weissman is leaving as well. So based on that, one could certainly think that the investigation is coming to a close. At the same time, Andrew Weissman's not out there on his own. There are several very, very effective, capable prosecutors who remain on the team. There are other investigators who remain on the team. So I can't say with any certainty that the investigation is about to wind down.
Well, former federal prosecutor Steve Levine, some great insight there. Steve, thanks very much for a few minutes. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Up next, Beto O'Rourke is now officially in the race. He draws a lot of comparisons to Barack Obama, but we'll show you why in one way he's also a little bit like Donald Trump. We'll explain right after this.